Writing doesn't force or commit. It touches. The order it bestows on the emanations of human consciousness cultivates an architectural aspect to the imagination. Into the forests and dark waters of myth and memory intrude the letters, those subtle conductors, cobbling together colleges and choruses of thought. Palimpsest. Matthew Battles. 3. A respite. Sitting outside in the curious cool interregnum of dusk, amidst the rising chorus of crickets and chirrups of crepuscular birds, nightjars, scrub jay, sky dancers, soaring on thermals. My stray animal, rubbing and biting his filial gratitude along my arms, thickened with work muscle, clad in black tattoos, which stand out upon broad blades of shoulder. Wends a graceful gait between my pillared legs, which rest upon weather-worn steps. An occasional press of his curious little head into the heels of my hands, whose slow response is dreaming full of ghosts. Old scars sing of some few battles and much buffoonery. Sing and listen in their silent white sentences to the ambient sounds, saying nothing. 2. A departure. His voice is his rust, snaps consonants into shards. His ailment moans bruised vowels between weak breaths. The hospital bed cocoons him with its tepid milk susurrations into a white, which somehow trails chains of unreconciled woes, invisible yet palpable in still ozone vapor trails, where his brow is furrows of sea foam. This fading Neptune of youth. I am sitting opposite, saying nothing, while I contemplate the sharp contrast between starlit galaxies and a gleaming vortex upon my upward thrust fist, and a wan artificial sun gently shedding short-wave infrared light overhead into the dark room below, where my best friend lay dying. He is violent to his last, with desperate bouts of life. He is last to depart my life. I am alone. Space, time, in the implacable iron grip of juggernauts. Helpless, powerless, both of us. 1. A reverie. Wind curls around her slender limbs of columned sweet milk, whispering its want through a notebook's dry riverbed. From lonesome lines, widows and orphans trailing, whose tongues tread forks into horizontal towers in time, elapsed and cinched about her with hoops of sullen intransigence. These pout, swollen lips that wink in their honey drip of language, which poems upon her star-symmetrical steps and meter-steady clap of cadence on vine-drenched stone. Dotted periods of perspiration upon her sweet, herb-brown papyrus. She ripens as winter air settles in space, hovering upon a dew-dappled meadow, whose presence cannot be captured in a photograph, only beheld in its midst, in the cradle of its palm. A thin breath before the morning star crowns this terrestrial sphere with an apocalypse of dawn, astonishing the gods. Her tightly spiraled mane, a constellation of serpents, lifting, falling gently into a semblance of a conductor's graceful articulation. Her voice a distilled sonata of boa-coiled contours. She is sitting, hourglass perfect. Eyes orbit her curvatures, pulled by some invincible gravity. I, barely able to restrain this primal want, this naked flame. She, sitting icily still and opposite, rising, folds into my embrace, gives up the ghost, collapsing into a sigh of cinders. She glows with rapidly expanding embers of pungent purple kaleidoscopic wisps and motes, which swirl upon the eddies of air. I sway, wrapped, in the wake of her ruin, grazed by bare fingertips of sound. Her specter lingers in the deepening of doorways, whose shadow drapes a skewed L into the stanza. Poised in the purity of this living moment, aching, alchemical silence. I am alone, saying nothing. Quietly, we three dissolve, awash in tidal light. An Apocalypse of Dawn by Daniel Christensen.